Hello there, my second live week. My name is Jamie Southern, and the lives are just really used for an opportunity to be able to be accessible to y'all and answer some questions and kind of go along with maybe the topic that was released on Monday. And so this week was having a game plan and sharing the benefits and of going into a game with a plan, right? So some of you saw on the Spin Doctor page or the Weekly Dose page, but my husband last night, he created that statistical page, and he was like, so what do you think of this layout? And I'm like, layout of what? And so he had researched and worked it all out, and most of the stats I don't remember. I know there's a couple that are so important in my career that really meant a lot to me that I do know, but other than that, I just love playing the game. And so to read through them again just kind of like brought back all those feels and the love that I had for playing college softball. I know there's so many of my former teammates that would say the same thing, that college softball is special. Like, it's just a special time of your journey and your career. And so I was excited that he did that. But when looking at it, you know, you reflect and you're like, that's not just like a coincidence that or that's the wrong word, but that I just was good, right? I was athletic, absolutely. Like, I am an athletic pitcher and player, and I hit and did all that, but there is more to going into being successful. And when you see pitchers that have pitched at the highest level, they have something different. And that is why we started this this channel, this avenue, was to be able to give you those secrets and tips. And I don't know, maybe y'all have most of them. That's what goes through my mind, and I want to be able to get them out and like say, here you go, right? Because this is how I played. This is what made me successful. This is what I thought when I was on the mound. This is how I read the batters. All of that stuff I know helped. And some of the information is like, you know what, I wish I did this differently, and I want to share that too. I am a mom. Like, I'm a mom of 3 daughters, 3, 6, and 8. And I want the best of them, for them, whatever they decide to do, sports, theater, right? I want to give them what you want to give your daughters, is the time, the money, everything that you give them to be great. But this is a show that like is free. Like, we're just saying, hey, let's build the best pitching community out there and give you the most information. And so that's what we're doing. And so with these live videos, like, it's not easy. I got 3 kids up there like stomping around, and you know, it's the end of the day, so the 3-year-old's a hot mess, just like you moms. But I want to be here for y'all because it's my passion, and I want to get your daughters great because we want that for them. And you put in so much time and money and feelings and just the emotional roller coaster, that let's get them good. If we're going to spend so much time doing it, let's be great at it. So so the workout of the week was to work on a game plan, right? If you haven't watched the episode, like, it's on YouTube and you can find it on the Weekly Dose, but it's important. We go into almost everything, tests, whatever, we're prepared. So when we go into a game against different opponents, different level of teams, right? They're a younger team, they are so good. How are we just going in the same way? We shouldn't be. And so I really want to talk about the importance of that. And maybe you haven't even thought of it. Like, why are we just being the same pitcher, right? Versus a B-level team versus a top 10 team in the country, and we're just going to go in the same way. We have to make sure that we can have different game plans. And as you get better, you're going to have more options. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I'm going to talk to you about my game plan in college mainly, and obviously after college. But with that, my great pitches, I've talked about it in the video: screwballs, change-ups, high screwballs, acted like my rice ball, and then my curveball was really good too. So I had that. My drop ball, just average, right? It didn't really drop until I was 22, and I learned a certain keyword that I'll share with you one day that helped me, and now my drops just drop off the table. But in college and most of my career, I didn't have it. And so I would go in, like if we were a better team than them, then I would just jam the crap out of them, right? My screwball was so good, so I would just jam them, and then I could kind of like get a feel for the batters, like who was a tough out. Okay, so next time through, I got to do something different for her, and kind of keep those mental notes. Second time through the lineup, you know, like I'm gonna go curveballs. As they're like getting off the plate because I just jammed them, I'm gonna go out a little bit, maybe a high screwball just for a strikeout or whatever. But the majority of the pitches they're gonna see is gonna be different. And then the third time through the lineup, I may throw them all 2 changeups every batter and jam the crap out of them again, right? So my game plan was different when I faced like a UCLA and I knew like this is gonna be a tough challenge. The first inning, I showed him my change-ups. Like I had to almost take out everything that I had earlier in the game because that was how good the batters were. So I would throw majority, but I did throw some change-ups. And then the second time through, I would go on the other side of the plate and mix. I mean, I had to be creative, and it was a challenge, which is why we pitch, right? Is to find out the puzzle piece and like figure out how to beat each batter. So when you think about approaching a game, I want you to think about those things. Like, how do I approach a team that I'm better than most of the batters versus a team that's like, oh my gosh, like the batters they're really darn good. So think about what you do differently. And if you do the same thing, then you've got to start thinking of that game plan. And the only way you're going to have a good game plan is if you have 2 to 3 great pitches that you can count on. Okay? So I know that most of you, and sometimes even at the higher levels, like we have fear to throw inside pitches to batters that crowd the plate. So this is different than when I played. People did not wear the elbow guards and the leg guard and all this, right? So now that they're wearing it, they're crowding the plate and they're challenging you pitchers. So we have to practice that. There is a line for them. I know some umpires, they don't really hold them to it, but let's imagine that they are, and they have that line. We still get the plate, and we still get that little river part, right, before the chalk line. You have to be able to pitch without fear, to be able to still establish that side of the plate. Okay, so don't let girls crowding the plate change your game. That shouldn't matter. And you have to work on it because it's still in our mind. I know we stand on the mound and we're like, oh my gosh, she's on the plate. They're going to call a screwball. Like, what the heck? I'm going to hit her. So you're going to hit her. You already thought about hitting her, right? You have to be able to say, okay, I'm going to imagine in practice that she is crowding that plate and I'm going to have to get this ball right on the corner because it's still going to be inside for her, right? Sometimes we take away the plate because we have to look where the batter is to know what's inside and outside for each batter. So another example is when we played Hawaii. There was 2 amazing Australian national team hitters on the team, and they would do the opposite. They would put their feet away from the plate. So now you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm just gonna throw curveballs, right? Like they can't even reach it, but they can. That's why they were so good. And they knew that my strength was screwballs to bring inside to them. So they were trying to like affect my game. And they said, we're going to make Jamie have to throw us not her best pitch. So they stepped back. And what happened? I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to just throw it more inside so it still jams them. But then they wouldn't swing, and so was the ball. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of having this like panic moment because nobody's ever done this in my life. And so if I throw a curveball, I mean, it seriously still had to be on the corner because they would just step over there and still make contact. So you are going, when you get to be so good, you are going to have batters challenge you. They're gonna try, if they're smart and their coaches are smart, they're gonna try to take away your strength. But don't let that freak you out because you've already practiced that, right? I hope. You've already thought about different game plans. You've already thought about, okay, I have a really good drop ball. One of my college pitchers has said this before. You know, when they move to the back of the box or the front of the box, it kind of gets in my head. It's like, why? Right? They're doing what they're supposed to do to make an adjustment. You still get to spin that ball. So them just moving their feet gets fear in your mind? Like, that blows my mind. They haven't even hit it yet. So think about that. Practice that. Because most pitchers are batters. Like, you better be doing the same thing to those pitchers. Find out what their strengths are and make an adjustment. Right? Challenge the pitcher. And then when you are on the mound, step up to the challenge. Don't let it be fearful because it's something different, right? Okay. The only way that you're going to be the most successful with this, though, is that you have to practice with no-hitters, but you have to be able to practice live. Live is something that is not done enough. Like, it's not. We know there's not enough fields for the teams to practice, so they don't have enough times. They have to combine teams. There's so many girls. Pitchers are not getting enough live, even in college. The teams, the numbers are, there's so many girls on a team now that they just don't have time to give the pitchers what they truly need, right? The pitchers need to practice. What do? I always say it, it's like a point guard. If I am the point guard and I'm driving to the basket, doing a layup, and I'm like, okay, like, I am so good at this. That's the same as being so good in the bullpen. This pitch is so good in the bullpen, nobody's challenging me, I have no fear, it's so perfect. And then you get into the game and the basketball player's like, oh my gosh, there's a defender? Like, I don't know how to drive anymore. What are they gonna do? They're gonna fail. So you can't just take the bullpens and say, oh, she's ready, right? Because once you get in a game, any athlete knows the adrenaline, the anxiety, the nerves, the everything, it's coming. And then you put a batter up where there's a consequence, and I'm trying to be working on something that I haven't ever practiced in a game with, I'm probably going to be unsuccessful with it. So if you have a game plan and you're working on that game plan, you have got to be able to practice it to live batters. So your coach doesn't give you live in practice, like most everybody doesn't. But that can't be your excuse. You've got to say, hey, does anybody want to stay after practice? I need to throw live. Does anybody want to come before practice? I need to throw live. Hey, I rented this batting cage for an hour. Does anybody want to come hit live? Right? Do what you do in a game. Practice your game plan before you get in the game. And I promise you, you'll be more confident, you'll find more success. Okay? So we had a couple questions come in, which I encourage you guys, that's why I'm here, is to be able, and if I don't know the answer, I will ask my former teammates or find out for you. Okay, so you can challenge me, because I would love it. So the question was, well, what if the opponent discovers like your good pitch and they make an adjustment? Then what? How do you adjust your strategy? So great question, because I think it happens to a lot of pitchers, right? So say, imagine you're throwing your curveball and it's a great curveball. But the third time through the lineup, right, their coach is like, get your toes on the line and crowd that plate. And now they're starting to hit it. So you really have to be able to have another great pitch. And that's where the importance is in having pitches established on both sides of the plate. So when you look at great pitchers, they can move the ball to different planes. Like they might have a rise ball and a curve ball, or a rise ball and a drop ball. Or they can be able to come in and go out, right? So you have to start working. If your best pitch is that curve or that low and out pitch, you have to be able to get something that can hold them accountable inside. And you can't just ride on one pitch. So I think that if your daughter is really good at that pitch and that's her sweet pitch, she's ready to move on to something that can challenge a batter in a different way. And so I would talk to her pitching coach or message me if you need advice. But I would ask, say, okay, you know, this is what's happening in a game. And so how, then what? So we need to work on something over here. What do you think? And just start those conversations, because if it is her strength and they're getting to it, we need to kind of move on and continue to get that better. But we kind of probably need to get one other pitch. And then the other question was, how do you throw to slappers? So slappers are kind of like, oh, they're just that like annoying little fly, right? In my mind, it's like they get a little running start, which is like cheating in a pitcher's mind. I'm like, you're a cheater. And you are not going to take a full swing. So you're just going to touch the ball, cheating again, right? So for me, I didn't get a ton of my strikeouts from slappers, so that's why they're annoying. I'm a little bitter if you can still see. So they're going to make contact, which I'm fine with, right? Like throw a couple pitches, just get the ball on the ground, we're going to get you out. That's how I viewed it in my head. But you have to imagine, I don't know what age your pitcher is, but the younger pitchers always throw outside to slappers, because the slappers are learning how to slap and they kind of run away from the ball because they're trying to get to first base, right? So it works. So if she's running this way, I'm going to throw it this way and she's going to miss it. Okay, so the slapper grows up all her life, most of her little travel ball journey, and pitchers just throw outside. So how I started throwing to slappers in college, really in college, was I would go outside, but I would really always try to get them the strikeout, or for them to hit the pitch was an inside pitch, because they're not used to seeing that their whole journey. And really, what do I want them to do? I want them to hit it to the second baseman or to hit it to the first baseman, because it's a shorter throw, and if they're faster, they're out. Like, we can get them out. So if my daughters were pitching where she had confidence to throw it inside, that's another thing. If we don't practice it, then it's scary to throw inside pitches to slappers. You got to practice. But I would encourage my pitchers throw inside, scare the crud out of them, right? They're running towards this pitch that's coming right at them, and they're younger. But you have to have that confidence and you have to practice doing it. So I think for changeup, for slappers, it's a little bit mixing the changeups. You have to be great at placing it, because they want to change up. They want to just bunt it. And so unless you get a swing and a miss because you're throwing your changeup low, because they really have those happy feet and aggressive, I wouldn't throw a ton of them unless they're running out of the box super fast. So, but that's how I would approach it, and I would challenge my daughters as quickly as they could to start learning how to do it inside, right? Because it takes, from a slapper's point, they want to try to hit to the left side or that shortstop, and so they kind of have to learn how to keep their bat in on that, and that's harder for the younger ages. So, but you know, that's kind of what it is. And so those were the two questions and what I kind of wanted to just talk about today. But if you guys have any other questions, like, you can write them in the comments or shoot them to me later and we can address them. Even if it's like tomorrow, I can do a short little video to answer anything or get back with you. Like I said, this is free, and it's great for pitchers of all ages. Like my college pitchers, we talk about the same things. We talk about it because it's a mindset, and and you're like, oh, well, you're like giving out all your secrets. Like, you know what? Great, because pitchers are going to get better. And if I'm truly a coach, I want to help. I want to help pitchers in their journey and find success and be the best. Once you get on the end and you're done, you're like, oh, how lucky for them to play. Like, they only get so many years to be a pitcher, and why not let them reach for excellence, you know, as soon as they can. So, you know, we'll take on the challenge for sure, but my heart is for y'all, and I love it, and I have so much passion, and so please utilize me, and yeah, so kind of an awkward ending, but that's who I am, a little awkward. So thank you guys for watching again, and I hope that you thought about something different, right? That's what we're trying to be here to give you guys. Is just think differently. Think more elite. Think with strategy. And get better. Find your game plan. Strive to get 2 to 3 great pitches so you can have a successful game plan. But anyways, I will see you guys next week. Next week's topic is preparing yourself differently. Like how to be great. You have to be different than the others. So it'll be a good topic, and I look forward to sharing all my secrets. All right, see you guys then.